As 3I/A Tellus nears the Sun, it's doing something no object ever has. It's pulsing, not randomly, not chaotically, but in rhythmic bursts that mirror the Sun's own activity. Each solar flare triggers a response, a brightening, a release of vapor, a subtle shift in motion, as if the object is listening and replying. It shouldn't be possible. The temperatures this close to the Sun are high enough to vaporize rock, yet A Tellus remains intact, glowing with a resilience that defies natural explanation. Spectral scans show exotic metals and volatile compounds, some unlike anything seen in nature, and the closer it gets, the more deliberate it seems. Less like a dying comet, more like something aware. If you're still watching, subscribe now. You crave more than answers. You seek what lies beyond. Subscribe now and be part of the few who never stop searching. This isn't just another interstellar object. A Tellus is forcing scientists to ask questions they're not ready to answer about life, intelligence, and what counts as alive in the vacuum of space. Whether it's artificial, biological, or something in between, its behavior doesn't align with any known celestial mechanics. As it approaches perihelion, the tension builds, not just to see if it will survive, but to learn what it is and why it came. If it endures, it could return transformed, carrying secrets from within the Sun's grasp. And if it disintegrates, it may leave behind only fragments of something that was never supposed to exist. Either way, the universe just got more complicated. It's not a comet, it's not a rock, it's not behaving like anything we've seen before, and it's heading straight for the Sun. The object designated 3I/A Tellus is being tracked by NASA and a global web of observatories. Every telescope pointed at the inner solar system is watching it now, not because of where it's going, but because of how it's acting on the way there. It pulses, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. It flares, not at random, not due to proximity or heating alone, but in apparent sync with solar activity. When the Sun erupts, it responds. Brightness spikes, vapor releases intensify, and then it stabilizes, as though absorbing the event and adapting in real time. No known comet behaves this way. This isn't speculation, it's observable, documented. Repeating, 3I/A Tellus is not passive, it's reactive. It entered the solar system like other interstellar visitors, fast, cold, and enigmatic. But where previous objects like Oumuamua accelerated quietly through and left more questions than data, this one has stopped being subtle, and that's the problem. It's not disintegrating like comets do when they approach perihelion. It's not shedding mass erratically. It's holding form, structurally intact, responsive, even under solar pressure that should be tearing it apart, that defies everything we know about cometary physics. Spectral analysis shows exotic compounds in its composition, volatile elements, yes, but also high metallicity content that includes rare earth elements and heavy metallic bonding structures. Materials capable of withstanding extreme solar radiation, beyond what even reinforced spacecraft would endure without shielding. And yet it shows no obvious shell, no heat plume, no thermal breakdown. Instead, it releases vaporized material in structured intervals, timed bursts that mimic solar flare cycles. It's like it's reading the Sun, or worse, interacting with it. This is the most dangerous part of the discovery. Not because it's threatening to Earth, not yet, but because it doesn't match any known natural behavior. Objects don't respond to the Sun. They endure it. They don't pulse with it. They melt. 3I/A Tellus doesn't melt. It reflects. It reacts. It adjusts. There are two working theories, and both are equally staggering. The first, this is not a natural object at all. It may be engineered, a relic, a construct of unknown origin from another star system, built with layered materials possibly acting as heat shields or thermal dampeners that allow it to withstand proximity to the Sun. This would make 3I/A Tellus the first observed artifact of extraterrestrial engineering. The second, it's alive, not in the biological sense, not carbon-based, but active, a non-terrestrial life form with internal processes that mimic adaptation, reaction, and possibly even communication. A living system built to survive the most hostile environments in known space. And right now, it's less than a solar diameter away from the most violent object in our solar system. The Sun doesn't tolerate weakness. It vaporizes rock. It obliterates metal. It creates tidal forces that can tear apart objects hundreds of kilometers wide. But 3I/A Tellis isn't breaking up, and that's what terrifies researchers. If it survives perihelion, it will have passed through a furnace no artificial probe has ever dared. It will have endured magnetic chaos, radiation storms, and thermal shear that tears molecules apart, and it will emerge potentially altered, potentially stronger, and potentially more active. If it doesn't survive, it disintegrates. But even then, the mystery doesn't go away, because we'll still have to explain how it lasted this long, why it acted the way it did, what it meant when it pulsed in time with the sun's flares, what it meant when it stayed intact far beyond known thermal limits, and if it does survive, then we have to ask what comes next. Does it exit the solar system, slingshot past the sun on a new trajectory, or does it remain in orbit circling the object it's been interacting with? Every possibility is unprecedented. Every option leads to the same conclusion: this is not just another comet. NASA isn't saying it publicly, but the data speaks louder than words. This object is either the most complex interstellar anomaly we've ever seen, or it's the first sign that we are not alone. The implications are enormous. If it's artificial, then something has mastered deep space travel, material engineering, and solar resistance on a level that dwarfs our current capabilities. If it's a life form, then our definition of life just collapsed. Because whatever's pulsing through that object doesn't breathe air, doesn't eat organic material, doesn't require atmosphere, and yet it moves, adjusts, and survives. And if it's responding to the sun, then it's not random, it's aware. At some level, at some scale, this object knows. We don't know how long it's been traveling. We don't know where it came from. But it is here now, and it is passing through a gauntlet of energy and pressure that no spacecraft we've built could survive. And it's not slowing down. As it nears perihelion, all eyes are locked in. Every second new data pours in. Spectrographs, thermal scans, UV readings, magnetic field distortions. Scientists are arguing in real time. Some say it's natural but extraordinary. Others say it's a machine, a relic, a probe. No one agrees, but no one can ignore it. This is no longer about curiosity. It's about confrontation with the unknown. An object that may not be inert, that may be more than just mass and momentum, that may be a message, a messenger, or something older than both. And if we're wrong, if this is just a comet, a fluke, a rock with perfect thermal symmetry, it still changes everything. Because it shows we don't know what's out there, and we're not ready for what's coming. The boundary between science and belief has never been thinner. If 3I/A Tellis survives the sun, it becomes the most important object in the solar system, not because of what it's made of, but because of what it could mean. Contact, design, intelligence, or a new kind of life, one that thrives in fire, speaks in light, and travels between stars not as a visitor, but as part of a much larger system, one that we're only beginning to notice. If this stunned you the way it stunned the scientific community, then speak up, share this, drop a comment, let us know what you think 3I/A Tellis really is. Hit like if you're following every pulse and flare, and if you want to keep tracking this with us, subscribe, because this story isn't over. The sun hasn't spoken its final word, and neither has 3I/A Tellis. The solar furnace is absolute. It tears apart iron, reduces icy giants to vapor. Even engineered spacecraft with reinforced carbon composites don't last long when the full force of solar radiation is unleashed. And yet 3I/A Tellis is still there, unburned, unbroken, undeterred. As it closes in on perihelion, the closest point in its path to the sun, this object continues to defy every known law of thermodynamics, material science, and astrophysical expectation. It should have fragmented, it should have boiled, it should have been erased, but it hasn't been. And that leaves only one conclusion: we don't know what this thing is. But it's not what we thought. Observatories are capturing flares and vapor trails, sure, but those flares don't behave like sublimating ice. They aren't chaotic. They don't release in bursts of entropy like comets do when collapsing under pressure. These flares occur in timing sequences. They pulse with intervals so regular, researchers began overlaying them against solar activity timelines. That's when the patterns emerged. Every flare from A Tellis matches a corresponding spike in solar activity, sometimes by seconds, sometimes down to the millisecond. It doesn't just react to solar flares, it mirrors them. That mirroring changes everything. Because natural objects don't time their discharges to match external events with precision, they're driven by physics, heat, pressure, decay. They don't choose, they don't synchronize. But this does. It's not reflecting the sun's energy, it's responding to it. So the question becomes, is it a programmed object reacting to external stimuli, or is it something more than that? Something that recognizes the sun, not as a threat, but as a counterpart. If so, then it's not a probe. It's a participant. Every pulse is a handshake. Every flare's an answer. And this isn't science fiction, it's documented telemetry. NASA's deep space sensors recorded light curve anomalies that shouldn't exist in a natural body. Light should scatter uniformly, especially around an object with no known atmosphere, but the light around ATLAS bends, shifts, reacts, as though it's being shaped. Some theorists suggest it could have a field, a magnetohydrodynamic shell, or something even more exotic, deflecting solar radiation in real time. Others believe it may have internal systems regulating its exposure, shedding heat through vapor layers or chemical diffusion. None of these theories come with evidence. Only patterns. Only speculation built on the simple, undeniable fact: this object is alive to the sun, not dead matter. Not random debris. Something else. And that's forcing every agency watching to rethink what we define as life, because if 3I/ATLAS meets criteria for stimulus response, energy regulation, environmental adaptation, what's left? Biology, DNA, water. None of that applies here. This is an interstellar body, possibly older than the solar system itself, approaching our star not in surrender, but in communication, and it's not breaking. At its current distance, any terrestrial object would be experiencing heat in excess of 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. That's enough to melt most metals, shatter ice, and destabilize molecular bonds. But ATLAS isn't melting. It's radiating, not just emitting heat, broadcasting frequencies. Radio observatories have detected faint emissions from the object, not strong enough to carry data by human standards, but they're there. Faint oscillations, repeating intervals, rhythmic distortions that track with its flare cycles. These aren't random, they're encoded. We don't know the language. We don't even know if it is a language. But what we do know is this: natural objects don't broadcast, and if they do, they don't do it intentionally. But this one does. It pulses in ultraviolet. It radiates in X-band. It mirrors solar outbursts. And it holds formation at distances no comet, no asteroid, no object of any known classification has ever survived. That has the scientific community split into two camps. One says this is an engineered relic, a heat-resistant shell designed for long-duration travel through interstellar space, a kind of data capsule, perhaps, or an automated solar probe from another star system. The other says it's a new form of life, unrecognizable by Earth standards, a non-organic being whose body is the vessel, whose systems are thermodynamic, not cellular, a kind of solar-born entity that lives off radiation and travels by stellar gravity. Either possibility redefines everything we thought we knew, because if this object was built, who built it? And why send it here? And if it's alive, what is it doing this close to our star? What does it want? The final approach to perihelion is days away. Tidal forces will peak, solar intensity will multiply, and everyone is watching to see whether ATLAS can hold together when it reaches the point of no return, because that's the inflection point. If it shatters, we get fragments, chemical analysis, thermal residue, data. But if it survives, then we're looking at something that can withstand the raw power of the sun. Something designed or evolved to pass through solar crucibles without damage. And if it does that, it will re-emerge into the solar system with a new trajectory, a new path, possibly new behavior, and no one knows what that will look like. This isn't about an orbit anymore. This is about intention. 3I/ATLAS could be slingshot back into deep space, or it could loop inward, return, approach a planet, ours or another. Right now, it's impossible to say. All we know is that for the first time in recorded history, we are watching a foreign object engage in an active rhythmic interaction with our sun, and not die doing it. That interaction may be technological, it may be biological, But it is definitely not passive, which means we've already crossed a line, because if we've been observed, if this object is not just passing through, but studying our star, maybe our system, then it's not a traveler, it's a witness, or a messenger. And that has consequences far beyond science. Because no matter how advanced we think we are, no matter how many probes we launch or how many exoplanets we map, we still treat the solar system as ours. But this object reminds us it isn't. Space doesn't belong to us. We don't even understand most of it. And when something from out there enters our domain, survives our star, and radiates as if it recognizes our light, then the illusion of isolation collapses. We are not alone. Maybe we never were. And whatever 3I/Ateles is natural, engineered or alive, it has forced open a door to possibilities we weren't ready to face. Possibilities that say the universe is not empty. That interstellar space is not silent. That the sun we thought was ours may be part of something larger, something networked, monitored, known. And as we wait for Ateles to reach its closest point, one fact echoes louder than all the speculation: we are being watched. The sun is a crucible, unforgiving, absolute. It devours everything that comes too close: comets, asteroids, even the hardiest spacecraft we've ever built. Nothing survives perihelion without sacrifice. Not mass, not structure, not identity. But 3I/Ateles isn't just surviving, it's thriving. And that single truth is unraveling everything we thought we knew about the boundaries of life, intelligence, and technology in the universe. Right now, this interstellar object, this anomaly, is withstanding forces that reduce solid metal to gas. It's doing so without visible fragmentation, without decay, and without deviation from its flight path. That level of resilience isn't just rare. It's unknown. We're past the point of treating this like a comet. This is something else. Its surface behavior is too precise. Its emissions too structured. The vapor it releases during flare events isn't chaotic outgassing, it's regulated, timed. Every plume, every pulse, occurs in rhythmic cycles that correlate directly with solar disturbances. Solar flares rise, Ateles responds. Magnetic fields shift, Ateles pulses. We're watching an object that doesn't just endure solar pressure, it reacts to it, anticipates it. As if the sun is speaking, and Ateles is answering. That's not just physics, that's interaction, and the structure of those responses. Not noise, not cosmic randomness. They mirror solar flare intervals. They reflect energy patterns that don't line up with thermodynamic decay, they line up with stimulus-response behavior. Every astrophysicist watching this knows what that implies. Because objects don't do that. Life does. Systems do. Programs do. But not comets. Which means we've entered new territory. Not theoretical. Not speculative. Observable. Measurable. And deeply unsettling. Because if this object was engineered, someone built it with materials and purpose far beyond anything we've ever achieved. And if it's alive, then our definition of life, our entire biological framework, has just been shattered. And either way, it came here. Not by accident. Not by drift. Not by chance. This path was calculated. Think about that. An interstellar object, navigating with such precision that it arrives at our star, survives the approach, and reacts in real time to the star's energy output, and we're supposed to believe it's just ice and dust. That explanation collapsed hours ago. And now we're left with questions that cut deeper than science. Why the sun? Why now? What does it want? Because if Ateles is responding, it's listening. And if it's listening, it came with intent. That changes everything. We've spent decades searching the void, hoping for a signal from deep space, some fragment of radio noise, some whisper in the dark. But maybe we were wrong to look outward. Maybe the real message isn't coming to Earth. Maybe it's going to the sun. And maybe, just maybe, it's already been received. Because let's be honest, the timing is too precise. The behavior too controlled. The survival too unlikely. If this was just a relic, it would tumble. If this was just a rock, it would break. If this was just a comet, it would be gone by now. But it's not.
It's still there, still pulsing, still flaring, still responding. We are witnessing something that cannot be ignored. Something that forces us to confront the possibility that intelligence may not come in familiar forms. That life might not require breath or blood, but heat, energy, light. And as the world's observatories prepare for Ateles to round the sun, one thing is certain: this is not the end of the story. If it survives, it will slingshot outward, potentially re-entering the outer solar system charged and tracked. And we will follow. Because the moment it passes perihelion and emerges on the other side, if it does, it becomes more than an anomaly. It becomes a revelation. Proof that the universe isn't empty. Proof that intelligence might not always be loud, or obvious, or shaped like us. Sometimes, intelligence travels in silence, wrapped in metal, pulsing like a heart, moving toward fire, not away from it. And in that fire, it speaks. If you're tracking this too, if this moment has stirred something in you, don't keep it quiet. Like, share, comment. Let us know what you think is unfolding here, and subscribe. Because the second Ateles comes out the other side, the world will change again. And you'll want to be here when it does.